Imagine waking up one day to find a tall, stunning brunette as your personal attendant. Would you be grateful or extremely suspicious of a potential scheme? Probably the latter, just like the protagonist of this anime, a boy named Yuuri. We see him spying on his maid, wondering why someone so beautiful would be working in his small mansion. It's funny how the boy's innocence doesn't filter his comments. When the gorgeous maid notices she's being watched, she asks why he's curious, to which Yuuri admits he can't stop thinking about her at night. Wow! After this direct hit, she prepares tea for him, and the boy recalls his past. Recently, he lost his parents, inheriting the mansion and a small fortune. Since it wasn't enough in the long run, he had to fire all the house staff, leaving him to manage the mansion alone. With zero domestic skills, his only option was to rely on instant noodles until a beautiful maid appeared to save him, sparking his suspicion, especially since she offered her services for free. Initially, the boy rejected the proposal but was convinced by her intense and serious purple eyes. Back in the present, Yuuri keeps a suspicious eye on her, even though she does an excellent job. Aware of the boy's suspicion, the maid seems to enjoy his actions, including teasing him to break the tension. She gets a reverse reaction from the sincere protagonist, who inadvertently admits he finds her incredibly beautiful, to the point of believing she's a witch trying to enchant him. He demands to know her true intentions, as if a potential villain would reveal them just like that, much to his frustration. That same night, he finds her in the kitchen cooking something suspicious and accuses her of poisoning his food, a baseless claim that calls for a bit of teasing. She jokes that she's using a love potion to win him over through his stomach, or worse, that he actually believes it. In reality, she was practicing her master's favorite recipes, so winning him over through his stomach is pure truth. Later, Yuuri searches for information about this beauty and discovers her name is Lilith, a fitting name for such a lady. Armed with this new knowledge, he surprises her by calling her name and comments that he'd like to know more about her. We then see a flashback of her receiving a letter right after the protagonist's parents passed away, prompting her to immediately head to the mansion to take over the domestic duties. The next day, she even gives her master new clothes and a new video game. Since gifts are a love language, this makes him believe she's trying to win his affection. To tease him further, she admits her motives, and the boy counters by declaring he won't fall in love just because she has a cute appearance and that instead, he'll win her over. But the sincere boy's attack doesn't land. Later, we see Yuuri unable to concentrate in the office due to her interruptions, ordering her to stand by his side like a statue. When Lilith leaves his room and takes a while to return, he searches for her and finds her petting a kitten. She even asks if he'd like to play with it, but the boy promptly responds that he's afraid of cats. Nevertheless, he accepts the challenge to overcome this fear. Lilith gives Yuuri some cat food. Where she got it from is a mystery. In the process, a grumpy cat appears, and despite his fear, the boy manages to shoo it away. Now with a full belly, the stray kitten becomes his companion, helping him overcome his fear of cats. When he returns, he's surprised by the little one's progress, but also visibly jealous because the cat was being petted by him, taking a critical hit when his master pets it too on another day. We see Yuuri sketching flowers while refusing to show his art to his maid before finishing it. He then enjoys an excellent lunch, still believing in the love potion story as the main seasoning, so much so that he asks her to teach him to cook, praising her food by saying he could marry her. This boy is something to be proud of. Lilith suggests they start by practicing a stew recipe in a moment of bonding. After finishing, the master invites her to dinner, but notices the dish tastes a bit different, giving her an opening to tease him by commenting that the food she makes contains all her love, a phrase the boy doesn't understand, still thinking he truly loves her. Towards the end of the day, we have the flower drawing, where the master of the house compares the beauty of nature to that of his maid. This guy is totally smitten with her. As the protagonist falls asleep, he remains suspicious of what she does when he sleeps, drifting off in his own thoughts. In reality, she stays until the boy falls deeply asleep. The next day, we see him getting ready for school, being dressed by the beautiful maid, only to drop a direct comment that she seems like his mother when she used to dress his father. At school, we meet a girl named Kazusa, who hopes to boost the protagonist's morale after discovering his parents' passing. We then see a flashback of the first meeting between Kazusa and Yuuri at a gala, and from that day on, she wished they would become good friends. At school, she even tries to approach him, but her shyness and nervousness prevent her from starting a simple conversation. After class, we see Lilith picking up her master from school, despite being ordered not to. Kazusa, who is stalking, immediately suspects the level of their relationship, especially when she hears the protagonist casually discussing the maid's beauty, immediately becoming jealous and indignant about their relationship. Then, Kazusa's maid also appears to pick her up. Initially, Kazusa asks that they continue being good classmates. Back home, the protagonist notices Lilith has disappeared and takes the opportunity to indulge in junk food. However, she takes a while to return because she insists on finding a specific fish for a special dinner. But it seems the whole town had the same idea, and she can't find it in any market, forcing her to search in another town. Meanwhile, the protagonist starts to get anxious, especially when he sees her phone in the kitchen. Due to the delay, she misses the last train home, and if it weren't for Fujisaki passing by, she would be in trouble. Upon arriving at the mansion, she finds her master crying due to feelings of loneliness. In anger, he accuses her of enchanting him to make him miss her, and not wanting to make him sad. She admits to enchanting him, but also congratulates him for surviving all this time without her. The next day, it seems the protagonist's monitoring has intensified, convinced that his attraction was the result of love magic. To improve this behavior and regain the boy's trust, she suggests playing some chess, a common pastime between Yuuri and his late father, which brings back fond memories of him and his mother trying to make pudding. Hearing this, his assistant offers to play chess whenever he wants, cheering up the little boy, at least until the end of the next day, as he returns from school somewhat downcast. The reason is that his class is planning a Parents' Day, where students' guardians accompany their children's school routine. But if you think his sadness is because he's an orphan, you're mistaken. The guy is worried that others might be as attracted to her as he is, a declaration that leaves her mega determined. The scene then shifts to Parents' Day at school, with Yuuri feeling apprehensive, but immediately cheering up when he sees Lilith in a male uniform borrowed from Fujisaki. Now no one will be enchanted by his maid's charm. At the end of the day, the boy thanks her presence, which certainly brought them closer. Later, we see Yuuri running through the corridors, and when questioned about it, he reveals he's training for the classic Japanese school sports festival. Wanting to help her master, the assistant decides to become his cheerleader, delivering a critical hit to the blonde boy. As a bonus, she even devises a training plan to follow until the festival day. The boy is excited to start with the first training, which involves throwing balls into a basket. I don't know if the boy is bad at this game or just unlucky, as even a cat blocks his shot. In the next event, we have the classic tug-of-war, which doesn't make sense to me. How is this boy going to topple a post by pulling a rope? Lastly, there's the 100-meter dash, and seriously, how do you fail at that, especially with the magic of pom-poms? But no, he gets trampled by a kitten and doesn't finish the race. Still, his effort earns him a bonus, a massage from the beautiful maid at the end of the day. As time passes, the duo continues their training, with Yuuri showing significant improvement. Meanwhile, his classmate Kazusa is talking to Fujisaki, expressing her disappointment that her parents won't be able to attend, showing a puppy dog face. Fujisaki immediately offers to attend the festival as her guardian, not realizing she was being manipulated into it. Then comes the day of the much-anticipated festival, with the protagonist's spirit fired up to impress. This leads Kazusa to suspect that he's trying to impress Lilith, and she's shocked to hear the maid declare that he'll receive a reward if he wins. Of course, her contaminated imagination thinks of a brutal reward, even causing a nosebleed. Kazusa becomes even more excited to help the boy, and with the power of friendship, the red team wins the tug-of-war event. Now, during the snack break, she's surprised when Yuuri reveals that the Guardians will also have to showcase their athletic skills. With the protagonist's moral support, she takes first place, to the dismay of her classmates, who comment that his maid doesn't count as a guardian. But the boy quickly retorts, saying she is indeed part of his precious family, combining it with a loving declaration even if it was meant in a fraternal sense. She feels embarrassed by him, making her seem more like a girlfriend than a mother. When the protagonist realizes the words he publicly uttered, he suspects she's using love magic on him, closing the saga of the sports festival. Now we see Lilith caught in the rain on her way home. Her master even tells her to take a bath, giving her the classic opening to tease him about joining her. But she gets a reverse Uno when he seriously states they can't yet because they're not married. Oh boy. In any case, we know that in this type of anime, spontaneous rain means a character will catch a cold the next day. And indeed, her flushed face is a big indicator, confirmed when she serves tea with salt instead of sugar. Checking her temperature, the protagonist confirms the situation and quickly insists she take a day off. The girl insists on continuing her work, but when Yuuri tries to stop her, she bursts into tears, thinking she'll be fired for being a useless maid. Wow, what a sick mind can do, right? The girl went a bit crazy with the fever. Yuuri assures her that's not the case, and she thanks him for his support, leaving him embarrassed. The next day, we see her much better, yet perplexed to have her master helping with the household chores. She even tries to stop him from working, but when he asks if it's wrong to want to spend even more time with her, it's a critical hit to her emotions. She accepts his help, and the dynamic duo continues with their tasks. Now, with the days passing, Halloween arrives, and the protagonist decides to become a wizard for the party at Kazusa's house. Lilith plans to dress up too, once again taking the opportunity to tease him about whether he really believes in cosplay. I guess she hasn't learned that this naive boy is mega sincere, taking a counter hit when he says she'd look beautiful in any costume. Finally, the day of the party arrives, and we see that Lilith opted to be a dragon butler, which leaves Kazusa mesmerized by the romantic costumes. Then, noticing that Fujisaki didn't get into the party spirit, she forces her to wear a princess outfit for a photo session, and the servant's embarrassment is evident. The next day at school, Kazusa gives Yuuri the photos taken during the party, and the two observe with amusement how their meeting went. Meanwhile, we see Lilith receiving the mail, and one of the letters leaves her worried. When she reads the fateful telegram, Yuuri appears out of nowhere, startling her. She even tries to hide her reading, a behavior not natural for her, which catches the blonde boy's attention. At least she's transparent, as during dinner, she reveals she was hiding from her former employer to help the protagonist. But now they've found her and ordered her to return. This behavior doesn't sit well with Yuuri, who refuses to let her go, declaring that she is his assistant and no one else's. Moved by this, the beautiful maid discards the correspondence and even receives a strong hug from her master. This event really cemented some feelings in the protagonist, who can't stop thinking about Lilith. In the classroom, Kazusa then intervenes in her friend's life, asking him to comment on what's bothering him. It turns out that ever since she became his maid, he can't take his eyes off her, and his heart races whenever they're close. Man, the boy is in love, but his naivety about the world and lack of common sense haven't allowed him to realize it. Even when Kazusa gives him the real deal, it doesn't help much because he also doesn't know what the heck love is. The boy returns home, thinking, and even when Lilith teases him in somewhat suggestive ways, she becomes quite worried about her master's state, who at the moment decides to hide his reflection from her. Now, on another school day, he seeks help from Kazusa again, who invites him for tea at her house. There, he shares his concern that his assistant might disappear one day. Countering this thought, Kazusa insists that Lilith is happier by his side. And to help him understand love better, she recommends reading some romance novels, which are immediately confiscated by Fujisaki before he can be corrupted by this literature. I was even curious about what the recommendations were that in the end, it seems that the tea didn't do much to teach him about love, but at least it was enough to return him to normal. Over time, the boy will understand more about it. Returning to school life, the art teacher asks the students to make a portrait. The blonde boy decides to draw none other than Lilith, to reveal her entire nature. But this somewhat ambiguous phrase makes her think the boy wants to draw her artistically. Unfortunately for her, that's not the case. The protagonist finishes the first drawing, but is dissatisfied with the result. He persists with numerous modifications without achieving his ideal, to the point of losing sleep over the dissatisfaction. To help him, Lilith lies on his bed to listen to her master's concerns, then sings a lullaby his mother used to sing. The next morning, the boy wakes up feeling great, but without remembering what they talked about in bed. Seeing that his sleep was perfect, he insists she sleep next to him again. From her expression, there's a strong indecision there. Later, we see a portrait made by the protagonist winning the Best Drawing Award, even though he wasn't satisfied with the result. The scene then shifts to another night of dreams, with the blonde boy giving a flower ring to a young girl with purple hair before waking up, surprised to see his maid on her day off. However, he soon regrets it when he sees her well-dressed, believing she's going on a date. And it's almost that she and Fujisaki decided to catch up with old friends. They've known each other since their school days, and it's clear that Fujisaki was the rebellious type. Her change and relationship with Kazusa generate great admiration in Lilith. Her friend even retorts, saying that Lilith has also changed a lot, and upon leaving, she recommends revealing more of her past to the young master. But the boy in question overheard the entire conversation and even stalked her throughout the day. Still at the cafe, Yuuri hears a familiar lullaby, awakening old memories in him, which he soon questions Lilith about upon arriving home, commenting that he remembered they met in the past. Now he complains about why she hid something so important. She then reveals she was worried about the possibility of him not remembering her if she told her whole story. But now that the blonde boy remembers on his own, he simply asks her to stay calm in a sweet moment between the two, later gifting her a flower ring just like he did in the past. Now, on a new school day, Kazusa is curious to know if anything happened between them, and the boy's innocent response is that they are like children. Even so, he remains confused about his feelings for Lilith. Kazusa tells him he's in love and should confess his love. Finally realizing it, he runs to pour his heart out, only to have his moment ruined by a girl named Natsume appearing out of nowhere and ordering him to return to his mansion. This girl with shark teeth was his junior and deeply admires the beautiful maid, not accepting her new job. She even spends some time at the protagonist's house to observe if he's truly a worthy master for her. But upon observing the daily routine, even she becomes a bit enchanted by the boy's kindness. Now, on another school day, Kazusa asks how the couple's life is going and hears that they have a new family member, only to further fuel her friend's fantasies. Back at home, we see that Yuuri and Natsume have already developed a nice bond of friendship, with a pillar being their admiration for Lilith. They even start discussing which outfit would look best on the beautiful maid and decide to throw a surprise Christmas party for her. While Natsume keeps Lilith busy in the city, Yuuri calls Kazusa and Fujisaki to help with the preparations. At the end of the day, when the two return home, we discover it was a surprise within a surprise. The real happy one here was the shark-toothed girl, who is very grateful for the gesture. Some time later, the mansion receives another unexpected visit. An old employer of Lilith was nearby and came to check on her. At this moment, we see her explanation for moving to a new job. It turns out that Lilith's parents were great friends of Yuri's parents. They took care of her for a year during a time when he was very young, leaving her very grateful for the care and warmth she received. Later, she decided to go to butler school, returning only after receiving the news of her guardian's passing. Finally, at the end of the day, the gentleman bids farewell and leaves, along with Natsume. Now with free time, the lovebirds can finally go on a date. They stop by a cafe, visit the late parents, and walk down a street illuminated with Christmas lights. Both discuss what love is. Yuuri says he still doesn't fully understand its meaning, but wants to discover it by walking alongside her, closing the first season of this heart-stealing maid. And so we wrap up the enchanting journey of Saikin Yatotta Maid Ayashii, with Yuuri and Lilith's relationship blossoming amidst humor, mystery, and heartfelt moments. We can't wait to see what the future holds for them. Will Yuuri finally understand his feelings? And what surprises await in the next season? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated on all our latest anime adventures. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.